ships. So Adventure Canada. Martin from Adventure Canada, please take it away.
Excellent. Thank you, Charlie. Oh, I'm so excited to get traveling again, and seeing that Rocky Mountaineer presentation makes me excited to get on. I've never been on, and that just made me even more looking forward to hopefully getting on board with you one day. Anyway, I'm Martin with Adventure Canada. I have been with the company for the last 7 years. As Charlie mentioned, I'm here instead of MJ, but in fact, I've actually worked into a new role, and I am working with all of our international agents. So certainly send me a message and we'll start working together. I am also on board the ships in the summer. So I started as one of the expedition team members, driving Zodiacs, leading hikes, and teaching yoga as well. But a little bit about the history of Adventure Canada. It started in 1987. MJ Swan is the son of Matthew Swan, shown here on the right, and all of the founding members there on the left, including David Suzuki, a famous Canadian who runs the TV program The Nature of Things. They wanted to get into the backcountry of Canada. They wanted to get up into Baffin Island. They started doing overland trips and realized the limitation of overland in the Canadian Arctic, and so started chartering vessels in the early 90s. And have been doing so ever since. So for the last 35 years, Adventure Canada has taken Canadians as well as those visiting Canada to the remote parts. Now the company is run by Matthew Swan's family. So Cedar Swan, Matthew James Swan, and Alana Swan. They are at the helm and winning awards, as you can see across the bottom of the screen there. So a number of different awards. The big one that I'm most proud of is for the last 4 years, we've won #1 Best Adventure Cruise Line. So fantastic to see, hopefully that coming in again for the 5th year running. And let's check in with MJ. I've got him here just to tell you a little bit about a day in the life of Adventure Canada.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Time is currently 0600 on Saturday, August the 29th. Our current position is 74 degrees, 47 minutes north, 83 degrees, 15 minutes west. Outside temperature is sitting at 8 degrees Celsius or 46 degrees Fahrenheit. We have a wonderful day of glacier cruising, wildlife viewing, and hiking the Arctic tundra. It's time to get up and enjoy this beautiful landscape. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
You can read books, you can watch TV shows, but when you're out here on the tundra yourself, listening to people who really know what they're talking about, it's a whole different world.
Excellent. So there's just a little snapshot at a day in the life with Adventure Canada. As you can tell, we're an expedition cruise company. So how do we go? We're on board of an expedition vessel. This is the Ocean Endeavor. It's an class 1B, so it's a double reinforced hull, perfect for going through ice-strewn waters like you see here in the Northwest Passage. This is a little time lapse that I took in 2017 as we went through the Northwest Passage. We're up to 198 passengers, and we have 20 Zodiacs on board. That allows us to take all of the passengers off the ship at the same time. obviously in a sequence, but if we're out on a Zodiac cruise, we can have all 200 passengers in each of the Zodiacs, 10 passengers per Zodiac. We use these Zodiacs to go from the ship to the shore as well, so we can land really anywhere. They have a very shallow draft and they're very sturdy, so that allows us to get out for our expedition landings. So we do a variety of different hikes, anywhere from a short amble up to a longer, more intense hike, 10 plus kilometers. But we also do outings based on interest as well. So we go to archaeology sites, places where we have a better view, so viewpoints. We have a huge team on board. So the botanists will be looking for birds. Botanists will be looking for plants. The ornithologists will be looking for the birds. They're probably both looking for each of them, to be honest. So it's a lot of different options for our clients and your passengers when they're on board. Zodiac cruises, a great way to get out and see the wonders of big ice. Of course, great for wildlife viewing as well, especially when we see those polar bears. Anywhere from about 45 minutes up to 2 or 2.5 hours, really just depending on how long the bears stick around for. Community visits, we hire locally for our staff on board the ship. So we actually will have our staff when we're in Nunavut, the Canadian Arctic. We'll have Inuit staff on board. When we're in Greenland, we have Greenland staff on board, and same for Newfoundland. But we also hire locally for in our community visits. The guides that will show us around are actually living in this community. So this is a community called Kangamute in Greenland, and the local guides there were taking us around. Sometimes you actually end up in their homes having tea and trying some of the local delicacies. Really authentic feel and a great way to meet people from different parts of the world. So why do we go? It really comes back to that founding ethos of Adventure Canada and the Swans, wanting to get off the beaten path and into some beautiful parts of the Canadian Arctic, as well as Greenland, of course. We want to experience different cultures, and we're always on the lookout for wildlife. And you never know exactly what you're going to find. And sometimes the natural wonders of the world will put on a display for our guests as well. So where do we go? We love to go off the beaten path, as I already mentioned. So I love this picture from NASA from space. We go to where the lights aren't. So where if your eyes drift north up to the Canadian Arctic, Greenland, and Iceland. This is a full overview of our 2022 and 23 seasons. We have 2024 coming out, hopefully by this summer. We're still focused on 2022 as we're full steam ahead, which is fantastic. And there's a lot going on in this, and I'm really just going to focus on the Canadian Arctic. But just so you know, we do have trips over in Scotland. We go to the Faroe Islands and Iceland. We have a trip that goes from Iceland to Greenland. We're going to hone in on the east coast of Canada. We have the mighty St. Lawrence, which is actually the first trip of our 2022 season. All of these trips are typically just run once a season. They run back to back as a series of trips. So they can be done back to back, and our guests can stay on board, or your clients can stay on board from June 1st all the way up till October 9th. The mighty St. Lawrence is an 11-day trip. We start in Quebec City and we finish in France. If you didn't know, there is a little island or a couple of islands off of Newfoundland called Saint Pierre and Miquelon, and they are French colonies. So we actually go international on all of these trips that you see here, whether it's Saint Pierre in France or Greenland. So no tax on the cost of the trip, but passports are required, which is pretty obvious for those coming from Australia. The following trip is actually going to be to the Newfoundland circumnavigation, which is going from June 12th to 23rd, right the way around Newfoundland. Absolutely fantastic trip. I did this in 2018, and it's so good, in fact, that we're running it twice in 2022. So in between those two Newfoundland trips, we have Atlantic Canada Explorer. This goes from St. John's, Newfoundland, down to a sand spit island called Sable Island. This is where wild horses roam. We go to Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. We go to PEI, and we'll visit Anne of Green Gables, of course. And then we finish in St. Pierre, stop into St. Pierre, France, before finishing in St. John's, Newfoundland. And then you notice this Greenland and Wild Labrador trip. This is actually not the next trip in the season. This is actually the last trip of the season, and it runs south. So we fly from Toronto on a charter flight up to Kangerlussuaq, Greenland. We go down the coast of Greenland, head over to the absolutely beautiful Torngat Mountains of Labrador, and we finish in St. John's, Newfoundland. That's a 15-day trip, and it's one of my favorite. Moving up to the Canadian Arctic, we have trips that range in length from 12 to 17 days. The 12-day trip is that green line, the High Arctic Explorer. I think of it as a mini Northwest Passage. It does the highlights of Greenland and the beginning of the Northwest Passage. We have our two Northwest Passage trips into and out of, which are 17 days. And those are going to go that little bit further into the Northwest Passage, and out of the Northwest Passage goes a little bit further north up to the most northerly point in Canada, or sorry, the most northerly community in Canada at Grise Fjord, and covers a little bit more of the coast of Greenland. Our Heart of the Arctic expedition doesn't run every year. It's running in 2022 and will come back again in 2024. This trip is 13 days. It starts in Ottawa. We fly up to Iqaluit. We do the southern part of Baffin Island with lots of community visits. This trip is more focused on Inuit art and community visits. We stop into the Ungava Peninsula and Aquatuck Island. Aquatuck Island is this huge limestone island with a bunch of birds called immerse on there, and a whole whack load of polar bears that are hunting those immerse. We cross over the Davis Strait and we visit Greenland. We go to the capital, which is Nuuk, and we finish in Kangerlussuaq and fly back down to Toronto. So for the other trips, Kugluktuk is the most westerly point there. That is the end point of Into the Northwest Passage. We have a flight down to Yellowknife from there. And for the beginning of Out of the Northwest Passage, those passengers are coming up from Yellowknife. So that's a lot of information. Obviously, a lot more on our website, and I could talk about all of these different trips in a long period of time. It would take me probably half an hour or more to talk about each trip. But I just wanted to highlight the two Northwest Passage trips that I was just talking about. Fantastic to join on to this trip by having the Rocky Mountaineer. First of all, have your clients fly into Vancouver, finish in Alberta, fly up to Yellowknife, and then our charter flight from there from Yellowknife to Kugluktuk. 17 days doing really the north coast and over to Greenland, and then flying down to Toronto to see the largest city in Canada. Absolutely stunning landscape. And without going too long here, I'm just going to talk a little bit more about what it's like on board. We have lots of presentations and workshops. There's lots of amenities on board. We have yoga classes. There's a hot tub, 2 saunas, and a pool. A large library. You can do the polar dip. We have 3 meals included, all a la carte. There, as I mentioned, there's 2 saunas in the pool that are pictured here. Lots of different cabins and cabin categories. 10 different cabin categories, and a number of cabins that are for solos as well. So we have a free single supplement. This is an example of one of our expedition teams here on the bottom left, and the number of passengers. We get into small groups of about 10 or so, but lots of opportunity for one-on-one. We have specialty guests like Margaret Atwood. She's been on about 20 expeditions over the years, and she'll be on Atlantic Canada Explorer this summer. We do hosted groups, and we have exclusive offers for your group. So if you are interested, certainly get in touch. We can do private Zodiac tours, cocktail receptions, private bridge tours, and all kinds of different things like that. Protected commission is brand new. We listened in the pandemic and we increased our protected commission to a minimum of $250 USD. That means if your client cancels, you're guaranteed $250 of commission. If they cancel closer to you, you're actually going to be guaranteed much more commission than that. We have a very flexible booking policy, and transfers are allowed with no fee between trips and even within the years. Of course, we're Safe Travel certified. We're family friendly, no minimum age, no maximum age. And in fact, those under 30 get 30% off. We have multi-trip savings. As I mentioned, the trips are back to back, but any 2 trips in a year would have an additional 10% savings. I mentioned that we have a free single supplement. This is on up to 50 cabins on board the ship. 25% of our passengers are single travelers, which is great. And that's why we won the World Nomads 2018 Solo Traveler Award. Just wanted to briefly mention, we have our 2023 early booking bonus running through till May 31st, where you can save your clients 15%. We're pretty booked up for 2022, as you can see by our availability report here, just a few cabins left, but 2023 is looking just a little bit better, especially for those Northwest Passage and High Arctic trips. Here's just a little slide of the overview for all the different BDMs that we have on our staff. I am the go-to for the international for Australia. So if you want to just broadly email to all of us, BD at Adventure Canada. And I think I did manage to just go on time there. I was having to speed up a little bit. I apologize. If you have any questions, certainly feel free to reach out, and thank you for your time.